Seraphine Voss did not move. Her twins smiled. They had the same storm-gray eyes, the same sharp mouth, and the same face Chicago newspapers never printed without words like ruthless, untouchable, or queen beneath it. But no one could mistake them once they spoke. Sable's danger burned openly. She wore her black suit with the collar loose and a silver knife-shaped pin at her throat. Her smile suggested she found rules amusing, especially when they belonged to someone else. Seraphine's danger lived behind perfect control. Every button of her charcoal jacket was fastened. Her dark hair was pulled back without a strand out of place. She looked at the contract as though it were evidence in a trial she had already decided. "Be precise," Sable said. "Which one of us?" My fingers tightened around the hospital bracelet, still circling my wrist. Nina's name was printed across it in fading blue ink. 48 hours. That was how long the surgeons had given me to find $420,000 for a procedure my younger sister needed to survive. I had sold my paintings. I had emptied the account our mother left us. I had begged charities, banks, former clients, and strangers who called my work beautiful but not valuable enough to save a life. Then an unknown number had sent me a message. "We can cover the procedure. Come alone." I forced myself to look at both women. Both. The word barely made it past my throat. Sable leaned forward, satisfaction darkening her eyes. Seraphine looked down at the contract. 6 months. Public exclusivity. Residence in the Voss penthouse. Attendance at every family event where the Voss empire needed to appear united. The document called me a public Omega consort. It described wardrobe, security, media appearances, confidentiality, and expected conduct. Then there was the final clause. Private marital expectations to be determined by the alpha parties. I had read it 4 times without being able to breathe. I was 24 years old. I had never shared a bed with anyone. I had never even had enough time to understand what I wanted. Since our mother disappeared, my life had been rent, groceries, hospital appointments, and making sure Nina believed the future was still waiting for her. Now 2 of the most powerful alpha women in Chicago were offering to buy that future. "I understand what the clause means," I whispered. "Just authorize Nina's procedure." Seraphine picked up the contract. Then she tore the final page in half. The sound cut through the penthouse like a gunshot. "What are you doing?" Sable asked. "Removing a clause that should never have been included." Seraphine tore the pieces again and placed them beside the silver pen. Sable's expression changed. "I told the lawyers to remove it. They used the family template. And now I want the family lawyers thrown into the lake." Later, Seraphine turned her attention to me. "Your sister's procedure was paid for 20 minutes ago." My heartbeat seemed to stop. "Before I agreed. Before you arrived. Then why am I here?" Sable's smile disappeared. For the first time, both twins looked at me with something more dangerous than hunger. Recognition. Seraphine opened a leather folder and slid an old photograph across the table. My mother stood in the center, 15 years younger, with paint on one sleeve and fear in her eyes. Beside her stood a regal woman with the same gray eyes as the twins. Helena Voss, the dead queen of the Voss family. I had seen her face in old newspapers. She had built shipping companies, hotels, clubs, and private security firms. The respectable businesses had been displayed in glass towers. The criminal ones had been spoken about in lowered voices. My mother's hand rested on Helena's arm as though they trusted each other. "Where did you get this?" I asked. "Our mother's private archive," Seraphine said. My mother was a portrait artist. "She was also an observer," Sable replied. "The kind who remembered every face in a room and every lie told in front of her." I stared at the photograph. "She never worked for your family." "She did," Seraphine said, quietly. "For how long?" 3 years. My chair felt unsteady beneath me. The twins' mother had died in an explosion 11 years ago. Officially, it had been an accident caused by a gas leak in one of the family warehouses. My mother vanished 3 months later. Nina had been 4, I had been 13. I had spent half my life believing my mother had abandoned us. Seraphine folded her hands. Before Helena died, your mother warned her that someone inside the family was preparing a betrayal. Who? Our Aunt Marcella, Sable said. The name carried weight even I recognized. Marcella Voss controlled part of the family's political network. She had spent years arguing that the twins could not inherit full authority without a recognized household and an Omega consort capable of continuing the bloodline. Chicago did not have queens by law. The Voss family did not care. Our succession vote is in 6 months, Seraphine said. Marcella plans to challenge us. A public consort would weaken her claim that our household is unstable. So I'm a decoration. A shield, Sable corrected. A very pretty shield. Seraphine gave her a warning look. Sable lifted both hands. I am trying to be honest. You are trying to provoke her. That too. I looked down at the photograph again. Why me? Because Marcella is searching for something your mother left behind, Seraphine said. We believe you may already have it. I don't. You may not know you do. And you expect me to live here while you search through my life. No, Seraphine said. We expect you to employ your own lawyer, review revised terms, and decide whether 6 months of public partnership is acceptable. You will have a private room, independent money, personal security, and a studio. There will be no intimacy requirement. Sable leaned back. And if either of us forgets that choice is yours, you may break the contract, keep the money, and have our lawyer's head mounted over your fireplace. That last part is not legally enforceable, Seraphine said. It should be. I pressed my thumb against Nina's bracelet. The procedure had already been paid for. I could walk away. But Nina would need months of rehabilitation, specialized medication, and another operation within 2 years. Even if she survived this week, survival would keep sending bills. What happens to her care if I refuse? Nothing changes, Seraphine said. Today's procedure remains paid. And long-term care. That is part of the revised agreement. They had placed freedom in front of me, but they had also placed my sister's future beside it. I hated that my choice was not truly simple. I hated more that Seraphine seemed to understand. Take the photograph, she said. Go to the hospital, meet the lawyer tomorrow. Do not sign tonight. Sable studied me. You expected monsters. I still might. Her smile returned, but it was quieter. Good, trust should be expensive. I stood and reached for the photograph. Seraphine's fingers briefly touched mine. The contact was light, careful. Still, my Omega instincts reacted to the quiet command in her scent. Cedar, cold rain, and something metallic beneath it. Sable smelled like smoke and dark cherries. Together, they filled the room without coming any closer. I pulled my hand back. Neither woman tried to stop me. At the elevator, Seraphine spoke. Myra. I turned. Your mother did not abandon you without reason. You don't know that. No, she said, but I know what it looks like when someone disappears to keep another person alive. The elevator doors closed before I could ask what she meant. Nina survived the procedure. I watched through the glass wall as machines breathed and measured for her. A nurse told me everything had gone as well as possible. Relief hit me so hard I had to sit on the floor. For 10 minutes, I cried into my hands. Then I opened the old storage box beneath the chair, beside Nina's bed. I had brought it from our apartment after the twins' driver collected me. It contained insurance forms, family records, and the only things our mother had left behind. A silver pendant, 3 unfinished letters, an old sketchbook. I had looked through it 100 times as a child. Most pages held street scenes, faces on trains, and architectural studies. This time I searched for Helena Voss. Near the back, I found a drawing of two identical little girls standing beside a grand staircase. Above their heads was a symbol I had never noticed before. A crown divided by a vertical line. The same symbol was embossed on the corner of the photograph Seraphine had given me. Someone had tried to erase it from the sketchbook. Someone had failed. The lawyer arrived the next morning with a contract half as thick as the first one. Her name was Priya Shah. She was not employed by the Voss family, and she made Seraphine and Sable wait outside while she explained every page to me. The terms were clear. I would have my own bedroom, my own accounts, my own attorney, my own studio, and the right to sell anything I created. No intimacy obligation. No medical decisions made without my consent. 6 months of public exclusivity. Security for Nina. Complete freedom to leave. The twins could ask me to attend family events, press appearances, and succession meetings. I could refuse any event involving illegal activity. You understand that they are dangerous women, Priya said. Yes. You understand their aunt may consider you a political target. Yes. You understand that accepting their security may protect you, while also making it difficult to know whether anyone around you is truly neutral. I looked through the hospital glass at Nina's pale face. Yes. Priya waited. Then tell me why you are signing. For Nina's future. That is one reason. I placed my hand over the sketchbook. And because I want to know what happened to my mother. When the twins returned, I placed the sketchbook on the table. Sable lost her smile when she saw the divided crown. Seraphine's control cracked for less than a second. Our mother used that mark for private routes, she said. What kind of routes? Warehouses, safe houses, emergency exits, Sable answered. Places she did not want recorded in the official system. These drawings look like ordinary backgrounds. They are not, Seraphine said. Your mother hid information inside perspective lines. I felt suddenly cold. Was she a spy? No, Seraphine replied. She was protecting someone. Your mother. Perhaps. Who else? The twins exchanged a look. It was the first time I saw how they spoke without words. Sable's jaw tightened. Seraphine lowered her eyes by a fraction. A shared memory. A shared wound. We do not know, Seraphine said. I signed the contract. Sable took the pen afterward and added a handwritten sentence beneath her name. Mara Vale belongs to herself. Seraphine read it. Then she signed directly below it. The penthouse occupied the top 3 floors of a tower overlooking Lake Michigan. My bedroom was larger than the apartment Nina and I had shared. It had its own sitting room, a locked balcony, and a bathroom filled with products whose prices I was afraid to search. The studio was on the eastern side of the building. Morning light poured through enormous windows. Fresh canvases stood against one wall. My old easel had been repaired and placed in the center. I touched the familiar scratches in the wood. You brought this from my apartment. Seraphine stood in the doorway. It belonged here. It belongs to me. Yes. She said it without offense. That made me feel worse for snapping. I'm sorry. You do not need to apologize for defending what is yours. She turned to leave. Seraphine. She paused. Did you arrange all this? Sable chose the paint supplies. That does not answer my question. A faint softness entered her eyes. Yes. Thank you. She nodded once and walked away before I could decide what else to say. Sable appeared 5 minutes later, carrying 3 garment bags. Do you always wait until she leaves? I was forbidden from interrupting your meaningful, artistic moment. You were listening outside the door. I prefer the term observing. She placed the bags across a sofa. Our first gala is tomorrow. I have nothing to wear. You now have too much to wear. I opened the first bag and stared at a deep green dress with a neckline designed for a much braver woman. No. Sable looked wounded. You have not even tried it. No. The black one has a higher neckline. I checked. It did. It also had a slit nearly to the hip. No. Sable sighed dramatically. Seraphine said you would choose the silver. The silver dress was simple, elegant, and covered enough that I could breathe. I narrowed my eyes. You both planned this. Queens plan. It is one of our few useful habits. At the gala, every camera turned toward us. Seraphine walked on my right. Sable walked on my left. Their hands rested lightly at my back without trapping me. The ballroom belonged to an old hotel filled with politicians, business owners, and people who smiled like they knew where bodies were buried. When the announcer introduced me as Mara Vale, chosen consort of Seraphine and Sable Voss, the room went quiet. Then the whispers began. I kept my chin raised. Across the ballroom, an older woman in a white suit stared at me as though I had walked out of a grave. Marcella Voss. She had silver hair, elegant hands, and eyes that were warmer than the twins, until one looked closely enough to see the calculation inside them. Smile, Sable murmured. I might be sick. Then do it on Marcella. Seraphine's mouth almost curved. We reached the family table. Marcella embraced both twins and kissed the air near their cheeks. When she turned to me, her smile was perfect. So unexpected, she said. Mara dislikes predictability, Sable answered. I was speaking to her. I dislike you speaking to her. Sable, Seraphine warned. Marcella offered me her hand. Her fingers were cold. Welcome to the family, Miss Vale. I'm not family. Not yet. Dinner began. I could feel eyes on me from every direction. My hand trembled beneath the table. Without looking at me, Seraphine reached over and covered it with hers. She did not squeeze. She simply held on until my breathing settled. Sable noticed. Instead of teasing, she shifted her chair closer on my other side, creating a wall between me and the rest of the room. For several minutes, I felt protected rather than displayed. Then Marcella leaned past Seraphine as the lights dimmed for a speech. Her lips came close to my ear. Ask them what happened to the last Omega they chose. By the time I turned, she was already applauding. I waited until we returned to the penthouse. Who was the last Omega? Sable stopped pouring a drink. Seraphine removed her gloves finger by finger. Neither answered. Marcella told me to ask. That was her intention, Seraphine said. What happened? It is late. Do not do that. Her gaze sharpened. Do what? Decide that silence is protection. Sable set down the bottle. Her name was Celeste. Seraphine looked at her sister. She deserves the truth, Sable said. Then tell all of it. Sable leaned against the bar. Celeste was introduced as a possible consort 3 years ago. She lived with us for 4 months. We trusted her. Did you love her? The question escaped before I could stop it. Sable's expression went still. No. Seraphine's answer came at the same time. Yes. They looked at each other. Something painful passed between them. Seraphine corrected herself. I believed I did. What happened to her? She copied security files and gave Marcella access to family accounts, Sable said. 3 guards died during the breach. Did you kill her? No, Seraphine replied. She escaped. Marcella implied something worse. Marcella prefers implications, Sable said. They are harder to prosecute. I looked at Seraphine. Why did you avoid telling me? Because every explanation sounds like manipulation when given by someone who controls the building you live in. You could have let me decide. Yes. The simple admission took some of the anger out of me. Sable came around the bar. She left Seraphine bleeding in a locked room. Sable. No. Mara should understand why you act like affection is a security failure. Seraphine's eyes turned cold. And Mara should not be used as a weapon in an argument between us. For the first time, Sable looked ashamed. I stepped between them before I could think better of it. I'm not Celeste. Seraphine met my eyes. I know. Then stop expecting me to betray you before I have the chance to choose otherwise. Her voice lowered. I am trying. That night, I painted until dawn. I painted Seraphine's hand beneath the table. I painted Sable standing too close to the crowd, daring anyone to approach. I painted Marcella's smile. Behind her, I painted the divided crown. 3 days later, Nina woke. Her first words were, "Did you sell your soul?" I laughed so hard I cried. Only a 6-month rental. She studied the security guard outside her room. Are they hot? You just had heart surgery. That is not an answer. Yes. Both. Nina. She grinned weakly. Then the heart monitor accelerated, and a nurse ordered me to stop making her laugh. For 1 hour, I forgot hidden roots, dead queens, and dangerous contracts. Then Seraphine entered with a tablet in her hand. Someone accessed Nina's hospital records. My relief vanished. Who? We do not know. Can they reach her? Not now, Seraphine said. The floor has been secured. Sable came in behind her. There was an unauthorized device connected to the hospital network. One of Marcella's people was seen near the service elevator. Nina looked between us. Should I be terrified? No, Sable said immediately. Yes, Seraphine said at the same time. Sable glared at her. Seraphine continued. Fear is useful when it leads to caution. Panic is not. You are protected. Nina looked at me. I like the honest one. They are both honest in very different and exhausting ways. That night, stress shattered my suppressants. It started with heat beneath my skin and a sharp ache in my stomach. By the time we reached the penthouse, my hands were shaking too badly to unlock my door. An Omega specialist examined me and adjusted my medication. No emergency, she said. Your cycle has been disrupted by stress. Hydrate, rest, and do not make permanent decisions for at least 48 hours. The moment she left, I locked the bedroom. Then fear arrived. Not fear of the heat itself. Fear of the contract clause that no longer existed. Fear that kindness could disappear the moment my body became inconvenient. I sat on the floor beside the bed, sweating and furious with myself. Outside the door, Sable said, I can hear you breathing. Go away. No. Sable. Seraphine says we should give you privacy. Because she has sense. She is sitting beside me. There was a pause. Then Seraphine's calm voice reached me through the door. We will remain outside until you sleep. You don't have to. We know. Hours passed. They did not enter. They did not leave. When the room finally stopped spinning, I opened the door. Both women were sitting on the hallway floor in expensive suits. Sable's head rested against the wall. Seraphine had removed her jacket and folded it beneath her sister's head. They looked up together. You said I could have both of you tonight, I whispered. Sable's expression changed, but she did not move. You can, Seraphine answered. To hold you, nothing more unless you ask while clear-headed. I don't want to be alone. Seraphine stood first. Sable offered me her hand. They entered my room like guests. Seraphine lay on one side of me. Sable lay on the other. Neither touched me until I reached for them. Sable's arms settled around my waist. Seraphine held my hand against the center of her chest. Their heartbeats were different. Sable, S was quick and fierce. Seraphine, S was slow, controlled, and not nearly as steady as she pretended. Are you afraid of me? I asked her. Yes. Her honesty surprised me. Why? Because I want things I have not earned. Sable's breath warmed the back of my neck. Seraphine believes desire requires a court hearing. It requires consent. It can require both. I closed my eyes. For the first time in years, I slept without listening for hospital calls. In the morning, I woke between them. For one peaceful second, the world felt quiet. Then someone pounded on the bedroom door. Seraphine was upright instantly, one hand reaching beneath the pillow for a weapon. A security officer spoke from the hallway. Nina Vale is missing. The hospital camera showed an ambulance leaving at 6:12 in the morning. The transfer order carried Seraphine's authorization. The signature was perfect. The biometric approval was valid. The destination did not exist. I watched the footage 3 times. On the 4th, I saw Nina's hand against the ambulance window. She was awake. She was afraid. A message arrived on my phone. Bring the original sketchbook to Warehouse 18. Come without the twins, or your sister will not reach noon. Sable smashed a glass against the wall. Seraphine did not react. That frightened me more. We will recover her, Seraphine said. How? We traced the vehicle. They disabled the tracker, a guard replied. Then used street cameras. The plates changed twice. Sable turned toward the security team. If one of you tells me what cannot be done again, I will find someone more imaginative. I opened the sketchbook. Warehouse 18 appeared in one of my mother's drawings. At first glance, it was a row of industrial buildings beside the river. Then I recognized the perspective lines. They were not shadows. They were directions. The warehouse is a distraction, I said. No one answered. I placed the sketchbook on the table. The window angles form arrows. They lead away from 18. Seraphine came closer. Where? I need a city map. A screen lit across the wall. I compared the lines, bridge supports, chimney heights, and distances between painted buildings. My mother had built a route inside the drawing. It ends near the old freight tunnels beneath the South Rail Yard. Sable called for vehicles. Seraphine caught her arm. Marcella expects us to follow the obvious route. My sister is in an ambulance. Mara's sister. The correction silenced the room. Seraphine turned to me. You will go to the safe house. No. That was not a request. Then you have forgotten the contract. Her jaw tightened. You are a target. And I am the only person who can read these drawings. We can take photographs. You cannot take my visual memory. Sable looked between us. She is right. Seraphine's eyes flashed. Do not encourage her. I am not encouraging her. I am respecting her. Respect does not require allowing her to walk into a trap. I stepped closer to Seraphine. Treat me as a partner, or admit I am still a possession. Pain crossed her face. I regretted the words immediately, but I did not take them back. Finally, she said, you remain behind my security line. I help plan the route. Yes. No drugs, restraints, or locking me in a vehicle for my own good. Sable muttered, there goes my favorite strategy. Seraphine ignored her. You follow instructions during active fire. I will follow reasonable instructions. That is not reassuring. It is the best you're getting. A guard interrupted. We found evidence of an internal leak. He placed a report on the screen. The stolen ambulance order had been approved using Seraphine's voice, palm scan, and retinal signature. The private succession schedule had also been transmitted from her personal terminal. Sable slowly turned toward her sister. Only you had that schedule. Seraphine went still. I did not send it. Your biometrics did. Then they were copied. That system cannot be copied. I looked from one twin to the other. For the first time, Sable moved between Seraphine and me. Come with me, Mara. No. Her voice hardened. Now. Seraphine did not defend herself. That frightened me most of all. Sable took me to the studio and locked the door behind us. I know what this looks like, she said. It looks like you believe your sister betrayed us. I believe in evidence. No, you believe in Seraphine. Sable looked toward the door. I believe she would burn Chicago before she hurt you. Then why separate us? Because if I am wrong, I lose you and Nina. If I am right, I only break my own heart. Her voice had lost every trace of teasing. I thought about the authorization footage, the retinal scan, the palm print. Then I remembered a portrait session 3 days earlier. The twins had stood on opposite sides of my canvas. Seraphine had complained that I made Sable's left eyebrow too severe. Sable had replied that it was Seraphine's eyebrow. They had switched places without me noticing. Identical faces. Nearly identical voices. Shared genetic markers. I ran to the desk and opened my photographs. What are you doing? Finding the lie. I compared timestamps from the gala, hospital, penthouse, and security hall. Seraphine wore a thin scar across her right palm. Sable had no scar. The authorization image showed no scar. That is not Seraphine's hand. Sable stared at the enlarged image. It is mine. Were you at the hospital terminal? No. Marcella stole your palm scan. My scan should not approve Seraphine's profile. Unless the system was trained to treat your differences as errors. Sable unlocked the door. We found Seraphine in the operations room, standing alone while armed guards watched her. I crossed the room before anyone could stop me. Seraphine looked at me. Stay back. I took her hand and turned her palm upward. The scar was there. You did not authorize the transfer. No. I believe you. The control left her face. Only for a second. It was enough. I rose on my toes and kissed her. The kiss was brief. Clear-headed. Entirely my choice. When I pulled away, Sable stood behind me with one eyebrow raised. I solved one betrayal and missed the reward. You accused her. I did it protectively. Seraphine touched her fingers to her mouth. Myra. We are rescuing Nina, I said. You can overthink that later. A live video appeared on the main screen. Nina lay on a medical stretcher inside a dark room. A portable monitor displayed an unstable rhythm. Marcella stepped into view. 1 hour, she said. Bring the sketchbook or the girl's heart will fail before you find her. The screen went black. We built the plan in 20 minutes. I proposed a direct exchange. Both twins refused. I proposed it again with a fake sketchbook, a hidden tracker, and ultraviolet paint marking the real route for their teams. Sable called it reckless. Seraphine called it unacceptable. I called it the only plan Marcella would believe. You hired me because of my mother, I said. You kept me because I could see what she hid. Let me use that. I will not trade you, Seraphine said. You are not trading me. I am choosing to go. And if the tracker fails, I leave a visual trail. And if she searches you, the tracker will be inside this. I held up a plain wooden ring from my art desk. I painted a thin layer over a microtransmitter and added the divided crown as decoration. Under ultraviolet light, the clear varnish on my sleeves and shoes would glow. Sable watched me work. You planned this very quickly. I spent my childhood hiding money from landlords. That is both impressive and depressing. Seraphine stood across the room, silent. When the ring dried, she approached me. I do not know how to let you do this. You don't let me. Her gaze dropped. I touched her cheek. You stand beside me until the point where I have to walk alone. Then you trust me to keep walking. Sable came to my other side. And afterward, you can both argue about who is more heroic. I already know the answer. Seraphine looked at her. It is Mara. Sable smiled. Fine, second most heroic. I carried the false sketchbook into Warehouse 18 alone. Marcella's people searched me at the entrance. They found no wire, no weapon, and no visible tracker. They missed the painted ring. Marcella waited inside beside an empty ambulance. Nina is not here, I said. You inherited your mother's eye. Where is she? Close enough to save, far enough to lose. I held up the sketchbook. Give me proof she is alive. Marcella showed me another live feed. Nina was beneath the rail yard, exactly where the coded route had pointed. But I recognized the wall behind her. My mother had drawn it. A broken tile in the shape of a crescent. A red support beam. 3 drainage pipes. I turned slightly, letting the ultraviolet varnish on my sleeve brush a metal column. Hand me the book, Marcella said. Tell me why my mother mattered. She saw too much. Did you kill Helena Voss? Marcella smiled. Helena destroyed herself. She wanted to turn an empire into something lawful. Your mother warned her that the family would resist. You planted the explosion. I corrected a weakness. The words were enough. A microphone was hidden inside the ring beside the tracker. Seraphine and Sable were listening. I extended the false book. Marcella took it and flipped through the pages. Her expression changed. This is a copy. I ran. A gunshot struck the floor beside me. I threw myself behind a concrete barrier as the warehouse doors exploded inward. Sable entered first with the security team. Seraphine came from the side passage. Marcella's guards opened fire. I crawled through dust and broken glass while Sable shouted my name. Marcella caught my hair and dragged me backward. A blade pressed against my throat. Call them off. I looked across the warehouse. Seraphine had a clear shot, but I was too close to Marcella. Sable's expression promised murder. You wanted proof, I said. You should have studied the paintings more carefully. I twisted the wooden ring. A burst of ultraviolet dye sprayed across Marcella's face. She recoiled. I dropped. Seraphine moved between us as another shot fired. The bullet hit her beneath the shoulder. Sable made a sound I had never heard from a human throat. She crossed the space, struck Marcella to the ground, and placed a gun against her head. Marcella laughed through blood and glowing paint. Do it. Sable, I said. She shot my sister. We need her alive. She took Nina. We have her confession. Sable's finger tightened on the trigger. I placed my hand over hers. Do not give her an easy ending. For a terrible second, I thought she would fire. Then Seraphine's voice came from behind us. Listen to Mara. Sable lowered the weapon. Police sirens approached from every direction. Priya had already sent Marcella's recorded confession, financial files, and kidnapping evidence to 3 agencies and 6 journalists. There would be no private family solution. There would be no convenient disappearance. Marcella would face the public destruction she feared most. The rescue team found Nina beneath the rail yard. Her portable monitor had been manipulated to look worse than it was, but the stress had damaged her recovery. She was alive. That was enough. As officers pulled Marcella to her feet, she looked at me. You think you have solved your mother's mystery. I froze. Marcella smiled. The twins never told you she is still alive. Then she was taken away. Seraphine spent 4 days in the hospital. The bullet had passed through muscle without striking bone or artery. She called it a manageable injury. Sable called her an arrogant idiot and refused to leave the room. I sat beside the bed and painted both of them while Nina recovered 2 floors below. The succession vote took place 6 weeks later. Marcella's faction collapsed after her arrest. The Voss board recognized Seraphine and Sable as equal heads of the family. At their first press conference, the twins announced that every criminal operation tied to Marcella would be closed or turned over to federal investigators. Some people called it reform. Others called it war. The twins called it overdue. We searched for my mother. Marcella's records contained payments to safe houses in Canada, Italy, and Argentina, but no confirmed name. One photograph showed a woman from behind with my mother's posture and silver pendant. It was not proof. It was enough to keep hope alive. Months passed. Nina regained her strength. I rebuilt my career. My first exhibition sold out before opening night. The main painting showed two women standing on opposite sides of a doorway, both waiting instead of pulling the figure between them. Seraphine bought it anonymously. I recognized her assistant's payment code. Sable complained that secret purchases were unfair and bought 3 paintings publicly. Our relationship changed in quiet pieces. Seraphine began taking breakfast in my studio while reading reports. She rarely interrupted, but she always noticed when I forgot to eat. Sable brought chaos wherever she went. She stole my brushes, criticized my music, and threatened reviewers who described my work as delicate. It was a positive review, I told her. Delicate means they think it can be dismissed. You cannot fight adjectives. Watch me. I kissed Sable for the first time in the elevator, after she spent an entire dinner defending Nina's plan to study nursing. Sable forgot how to speak for nearly 10 seconds. Seraphine later claimed it was a family record. Nothing between us became permanent while the contract remained active. That was my rule. They accepted it. We shared kisses, beds, laughter, arguments, and long nights when their arms around me felt more honest than any promise. But no bond was formed. No claim was made. No mark touched my skin. 6 months after I signed the contract, Priya placed the original agreement on the dining table. Beside it were the deed to a renovated apartment, independent security arrangements, investment accounts, and documents guaranteeing Nina's medical care for life. Seraphine sat across from me, with her shoulder fully healed. Sable stood at the window. "The contract has ended," Seraphine said. "I know. Everything listed here belongs to you without condition." I opened the apartment deed. It was in my name alone. "What happens if I leave?" Sable continued looking out at the city. "You leave. And this." "All yours," Seraphine said. "The money. Yours. Nina's care. Unchanged." My chest tightened. "What about my mother?" "We will continue the search," Seraphine said, "whether you stay or not." I looked from one twin to the other. Neither asked me to remain. Sable's hands were clenched at her sides. Seraphine's face was perfectly controlled. "The original offer was unfair," she said. "Even without the intimacy clause, your sister's condition limited your ability to choose freely. You paid for her procedure before I signed. We still used your fear to secure a public arrangement." Sable finally turned. "We wanted you long before we had the right to." Seraphine's voice softened. "So we are removing ourselves from the decision." "What does that mean?" "We are leaving the penthouse for 1 week," she said. "You may take anything that belongs to you. You may remain here until your apartment is ready. When we return, we will accept whatever decision you have made." Sable walked toward me. For once, there was no teasing in her eyes. "We will not chase you. That sounds difficult for you. It may kill me." "Sable." I said may. She touched my cheek, then let her hand fall before I could lean into it. Seraphine placed the contract in front of me. "You are free, Mara." They left that evening. The penthouse became unbearable within an hour. Every room held pieces of them. Seraphine's tea beside the studio window. Sable's jacket thrown over a chair. The scratch on the dining table from the night. She demonstrated how easily a knife could pass through legal paperwork. I packed a bag. At midnight, I entered the elevator and returned to the old apartment Nina and I had once shared. The rooms were empty. The landlord had not rented it after the Voss security team discovered unsafe wiring and threatened an inspection of the entire building. I sat on the floor where my old mattress had been. For years, I had imagined freedom as a locked door no one else could open. A room of my own. Money no one could take. A life in which I never had to depend on anyone. Now I had all of it. The apartment deed. The accounts. My studio. My career. My sister alive. Yet freedom did not feel like an empty room. It felt like having a door and deciding who could enter. I opened my sketchbook and began to draw. 3 figures stood beneath a divided crown. At first, I placed myself between the twins. Then I erased the arrangement. I drew us in a circle instead. No one at the center. No one trapped. 3 equal figures, each with enough space to leave and enough closeness to return. I worked until sunrise. 1 week later, the twins came home. I was waiting in the penthouse. My packed bag stood beside the elevator. Sable saw it first. Her face emptied. Seraphine's hand tightened around the handle of her briefcase. "I understand," she said. "No, you don't." I carried the old contract to the fireplace. Sable watched as I struck a match. "Myra." I touched the flame to the corner of the pages. The paper curled. The Voss seal blackened. The signatures disappeared last. When the contract had burned to ash, I placed a new document on the table. Priya had drafted it according to my instructions. Equal partnership. Independent property. No financial dependence. No public obligation without agreement. No bond without clear consent from all 3 partners. The right to leave without punishment. The choice to remain without surrender. Sable read the first page. "You included a rule against threatening art critics. It is very important. That clause is oppressive." Seraphine did not touch the document. She looked at me instead. "You do not owe us this." "I know." "You do not owe us gratitude." "I know." "Your sister is safe. Your career is yours. You have a home that does not belong to us." "I know." Her voice broke on the final question. "Then why are you here?" I crossed the room. I took Seraphine's hand first. Then Sable's. "I'm not here because you saved Nina." Neither woman moved. "I'm here because, when you finally gave me complete freedom, both of you were still the place I wanted to return to." Sable's eyes shone. "You are sure?" "Yes." "Completely?" "Yes." "Because once I start crying, I intend to deny it." "You already look like you're crying." "It is rage." Seraphine laughed. It was a quiet sound, surprised and beautiful. I had heard it only twice before. She lifted my hand to her lips. "No conditions," she said. "No ownership," I replied. Sable took my other hand. "No disappearing." "That applies to all of us." Seraphine looked at the new agreement. "We should have Priya review the final language." She wrote it. Of course she did. Sable reached for the pen. "Can I add a sentence?" "No threats against lawyers either," I said. She sighed. "This relationship is becoming very restrictive." She signed anyway. Seraphine signed beside her. I signed last. That night, there was no contract forcing me toward their room. There was no illness demanding sacrifice. There was no heat clouding my judgment, and no enemy narrowing my choices. There were only 2 women waiting for my answer. Seraphine asked once. Sable asked twice. I said yes 3 times. When they carried me through the bedroom door, it was not as a purchased consort or a frightened Omega trying to save someone she loved. It was as their equal. The permanent bond was formed slowly, with every promise spoken clearly before the lights faded. Later, I lay between them with Seraphine's hand over my heart and Sable's arm around my waist. For years, I had believed belonging meant becoming smaller so someone else would have room. I had watched my mother disappear. I had nearly sold myself to save my sister. I had mistaken survival for surrender because no one had ever shown me another way. The twins had first chosen me because they needed a consort. Mara chose them because, for the first time in her life, belonging did not require disappearing.